I'm good whenever. So
We'll give it.
you're good. You're good. Oh, yeah, yeah. Got it. That works. Yeah, man. I got some data. I got some data too, so they can kind of pay attention to if there's some just some stuff in the beginning. So yeah, I prepared, man. Yeah, really. Hey, computer charge not gonna die. It's good. It's good. Nice. Hey, let's. Biggest piece is like the John piece because there's no prompts or anything. So the biggest thing is the John piece, where it's like there are no prompts for me. So I'm trying to. I know, I know. I think it's my transition of like when I say he sits down on there. Good morning. We'll get started in just a second if you guys can hear me on there.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. How are y'all? Want to thank everybody for coming out this morning to our third in-person 1 million cups in a row. So third time's a charm. This is a habit now. So I hope to see everyone back every Wednesday morning. My name's Caleb. I'm with the Star Junkie Foundation. and a proud 1 Million Cups organizer. For those that are not familiar with 1 Million Cups, or this is your first 1 Million Cups session, I'll give you a brief rundown of the organization. It's a program of the Kauffman Foundation, which was started in 2012 under the premise that your community's problems are solved, people come together over 1 million cups of coffee. So we've got approximately 1 million in the corner here. I hope everybody has helped themselves to some caffeine. And also part of 1 Million Cups is we offer the community the opportunity to present, entrepreneurs to present and talk about what they're working on. Today we are proud to have Bryan Fittin with Go Rogue X, who's going to be our presenter today. This is going to be live on CNN. Set up and ready to go. So Bryan, without further ado, I will turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, kid. All right, somebody's got to sit down too. This is like a whole. Back here. So I'm Bryan with Go Rogue X, and so we'll go ahead and kick it off here. And then obviously we're a video marketing company, and so we always try to bring the show anywhere we go. So obviously with the setup with the cameras and stuff, but so we like to start out with problems. For most businesses, creating video content can be overwhelming. Can we all agree with that? Yeah. We all know we need it, right? We all know that it's very important and vital in growing our business. And it's definitely one of those things that we focus on at Go Rogue X. So a little bit of data here. The average B2B buyer's journey involves consumption of 13 pieces of content. That is in the B2B buying space, right? That is a lot of content for somebody to then finally go into actually purchasing whatever you're selling, right? Video will represent 82% of all IP traffic in 2021. And every time we update this slide, it seems to like grow more and more and more. So it obviously, this is one of those things that I think even us on social media, as we see this, obviously with the pandemic, video has increased quite a bit from there as well. And then also from HubSpot, 50% of consumers want to see video content from brands, right? We're all on social media, either LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, whatever it is. We want to see video content from our brands, right? That's the most engaging piece of it. And obviously HubSpot's research says 50% of consumers. That's a lot of video content consumption. So let's meet John. John, he's a nice guy. He's a marketing manager of a mid-size, I would say paper company. That's what comes to mind. So any of my Office fans out there. But he's a manager of mid-size. He might have a small team, maybe somebody schedules social media content for him. But John has a lot of roles, right? He's the guy he's not just a marketing, right? We have sales to drive, right? That's what converts on the bottom line, right? So John's also in charge of sales. He's in charge of marketing. He's in charge of sales. He's in charge of the website, the blog, the content, all the stuff, right? And so John has this great idea. He's like, you know what? I know we need video to help drive our business forward. I know that that's really important. I know that we need to make sure to be creating that content. But so John thinks, man, I can start investing in all these programs. I can become a video editor. I can become a graphic designer. I can become a blog writer. I can get all these courses. I can do all this stuff. But at the end of the day, John still has a full-time job, right? He's still got to just drive his marketing. And so with that, John says, you know what? I'm going to go to my boss. So he comes in, he sits down with his boss. He says, here's the deal. I think we need to hire a team, right? And so John's boss says, well, how many people do we need to hire? These are the amount of people we need to hire. We need to hire a social media manager, video editor, copywriter, graphic designer, project manager, audio engineer. John's boss says, well, I'm sorry, we don't have $500,000 in the payroll budget this year to hire all these people, even though John's boss has bought into the idea that video is going to drive their business forward, right? He says, you're part of marketing. You obviously, just push the marketing effort. Well, John is overworked. He's tired. He might be a creative in that field. He's like, you know what? I need to be able to, obviously push this agenda forward, but I don't have the time or the resources to be able to do this. So a lot of businesses are like this, right? They don't know where to start, right? Don't know exactly how to put their face with their brand, because as millennials come into the workforce, we are wanting more and more authentic connections, right? Authentic connections with buying. So we're tired of seeing stock video. We're tired of seeing stock images to represent your brand and your company, right? We want to see you. We want to see who's behind the curtain pulling all the strings. Also, I don't have time I don't want to waste the money. I want to make sure that my investment is going to be on point. And so, you guys know what the solution is to this problem? Anybody? It's a big surprise. Anyway, Go Rogue. So we are aimed at whether it's live streaming or video podcasting, we help you simplify your video marketing efforts to drive results. So this concept really came to me whenever I was in the corporate world. So I was in the corporate world for about 14 years. And while I was there, I was doing side projects with photography, video. I'd shoot commercials. I would shoot, different product photography and stuff like that. And so while I was doing this, I realized some of these businesses I was shooting for, I would ask them, a couple months later, I said, hey, did you like that commercial we did? What that video content we created, what did you do with that? And they're like, oh yeah, we loved it. We uploaded it to our YouTube channel. It was great. Awesome. It's got 7 views. It's fantastic. I was like, you spent a lot of money on this one thing and you didn't utilize it after the fact, right? And so come on in. As we went through, it was one of those things that I realized, hey, we need to make sure that, obviously promoting that content, promoting what content we're creating is very important, obviously, in driving the business. And so with that, I understood, I was like, you know what, as we're going through this, and as I started my own podcast, I started looking at marketing efforts and trying how to actually do this promotion and do it well. And then I heard of a little guy named Gary Vee. I don't know if you guys have heard of him, but he's just a little influencer, and he basically came up and maximized this content, this effort to take long form content and just kind of blow it up. And so I thought, how does that work in a business aspect to be able to actually maximize and drive the bottom line? And so with that, we're going to go back to John. So John, he decided, hey, I want to do some video podcasting. So when it comes to us, we came up with this concept of like, how do we make it really easy as for a marketing director to actually sit down and just record 1 hour a week, right? We're all familiar with Zoom now. Just record 1 hour a week and take that one piece of video content and blow it up. And so what we've done is be able to actually maximize that content. And so taking that one video concept and breaking it up across all social media platforms. So that way, the time and investment that John does is not wasted. Right, he's already on these calls with different people. He's already, trying to drive sales, trying to drive his marketing efforts, and this is a way to maximize that content. Go ahead and go to the next slide, Lauren. So with that, being able to take essentially YouTube videos, break it up into individual pieces of content. This is actually our friends Explainify. They're actually based out of Fayetteville. They're nationwide, but we run their podcast as well for them. And so being able to take the interviews that they're doing, with potential clients or industry thought leaders, and be able to promote their brand. And the idea is that obviously having that content is the win in and of itself, right? So it is one of those things that you don't have to necessarily land the deal every single time, but it is a great way to start relationships, to start connections with people, as well as creating great content on the back end for this. Go to the next slide there, Lauren. So how does it work exactly? And so with this, the biggest piece of it is actually taking that long form content, creating the YouTube video. We have amazing in-house editors that do YouTube video creations with that for the long form, short form video as well. We pull the audio out of that. And so Jacob actually running our cameras back there, he's our audio engineer extraordinaire. And so he actually makes it sound really, really good, real sexy, And then on top of that, we then pull and create social graphics as well. So that's video that is captioned at the bottom. So that way it helps drive results, all going back to your blog or landing page or wherever you want to drive that traffic. Rather than just creating social media content just for social media's sake, there's a point behind it, right? You're trying to take that traffic somewhere. You're trying to promote the long form content, either being a podcast or the YouTube video, but ultimately converting that traffic to sales. And so with that, obviously, the more social presence leads to better brand awareness, your authority in your space and in your industry, because you're kind of leading those efforts. You're increasing sales as well as your network and connections. So my dad always said, don't have clients, have friends. And I've always taken that concept to heart. Like I have just a lot of friends and we do business together, but they're a lot of my friends. And so I enjoy doing that. And so with that, we are obviously helping businesses go from feeling overwhelmed with video marketing to feeling confident and also driving the results on the back end. So, any questions at all? I had too much coffee, Caleb. I rolled through that real fast, man. Price point on that? Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of this, we have full packages that start out around 3,000 to 5,000 a month, depending on what you're doing. So if we're producing a full podcast for you, we're producing all the content, social media aspects on the back end of that. We are driving that to basically the amount of content that you're wanting. It depends on that package, but we break those up individually. We do individual projects as well, promotional videos and different things like that. But if you're wanting to kind of continue that marketing effort, and I always tell people too, especially if you're doing a video podcast, it takes 6 months to a year to kind of gain some traction with that. And so if you're just kind of 3 months out of the gate, and you're like, well, I don't have 1 million downloads. Like that's one of those things that is not, you have to stay consistent with it. Exactly. So, yep. And we kind of joke too, Joe Rogan, like we have clients that come in and will say, hey, I want 1 million downloads. I want to be just like Joe Rogan. I'm like, we're trying to pitch a Go Rogan podcast, I think is what we're trying to go with that. But he hasn't called us back. But it is one of those, like, the vanity metrics of having a podcast that's 1 million downloads is not the goal here. It's to make that connection, and it's also to kind of drive awareness of your business. Yeah, absolutely. So the question was the equipment list, right? So we do consult on equipment. A lot of them are set up to do remote. So we do have a studio actually just right down the street. Soapbox Influencer are our roomies, and so we have a office space and a studio set up there. So you can do in-house recording here locally, or like most of our clients are actually remote. So we just consult on, hey, USB mic. We have clients that have $1,000 microphone, and set. But you can start out with a USB microphone, $50, $100, webcam. I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot to kind of get started. And then as you progress, you can kind of upgrade your equipment. But we consult on all that and all our new clients that come in. Yeah.
Podcast consulting space, do you kind of, I mean, if a client comes to you and they're like, I've got this idea, but there isn't maybe like full-fledged traction or like kind of a long-term, maybe that idea is good for 3 podcasts or something, you kind of help them with the full zhuzhing out, how to create like long-term content.
Yeah.
Concept behind it.
Absolutely. The zhuzhing out. I'm going to start using that. We're going to zhuzh out. That's good. That's it. Yeah, absolutely. So we go through a whole strategy. So we actually go through a 60-day process where we actually go through the strategy of your podcast, because most of the time people come in pumped, ready to go. I'm going to start recording tomorrow. Let's go. And so we lay out, actually, we say, if you're going to do especially a year-long podcast, we say you need to have 52 content ideas. So let's brainstorm that, right? That's every single week. So there's a term in the industry called pod fade, and that's actually very real. People get to about 10 or 15 episodes, and then they're like, this is hard work. Like, I didn't think about this. I didn't think ahead to kind of plan that. And so part of our marketing strategy services are that. We plan those episodes out. We make sure that you're comfortable with that. We line up guests as well. So we offer additional services to where we actually go out and get your guests for your podcast. So we find exactly who it is in your industry that you're trying to get in front of. And we'll reach out to them and get you on a podcast as well. And so there's a lot of strategy that goes into that first launch. And then just even launching a podcast, because they're all, you would think that the market is really saturated. But compared to like YouTube channels, like podcasts are still kind of in its infant stage of it. But it is one of those things that's trying to get out into the marketplace, launch well. That's something that takes definitely some strategy behind. So.
Bryan, do you help them with their social media also? I know a lot of the influencers I follow their podcasts. I've seen more and more they're taking excerpts from the podcast and putting that on their Instagram and their Facebook to entice you and remind you. I haven't listened to it for a while, but that looks like a cool podcast. So you can help them with all that social media.
Yeah, absolutely. Lauren, can you go back to the press play one? Yeah, so with that, this is part of it. So having a lot of the social content that's included in that. So we actually schedule that for you as well. So we add that on as a service, that $3,000, that starting package, that includes that. We do scheduling and analytics. There's 2 platforms that we'll post on for you, but you'll get a weekly update of all the analytics that are coming in, seeing what content's performing well. And so really from that standpoint, we actually take that content, that strategy, and say, hey, this guest was performing really well. This content's actually doing really well as well. You might want to put some money behind that. So we don't run any kind of paid traffic, but we recommend, hey, this creative is doing exceptionally well. You should probably put a little bit of money behind that and kind of boost your awareness in that space, and even call to action on the back end for that too, to help convert that for that audience that you're reaching. So, but yeah, we handled that as well. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, we have we've definitely had the sense of kind of going through this and trying to figure out price points that make sense. We're taking all of those positions and kind of making it into one position to where, from a marketing standpoint, you can build that into your marketing budget for that next year, and that we again try to make it and even customize it appropriately if we can. So, yeah, go ahead. So that is, we actually have a case study that we did with one of our clients. They are definitely more of a big ticket item. So we rely on their data for their sales of like, hey, I didn't know this person. You guys come on my podcast. We then had a sales call after the fact, and then we kind of connected, through LinkedIn, social media, and then the deal progressed. And so that is kind of our goal, is to get them in front of you. And so that way the sales team can come in and take over. But it is completely reliant on our clients' data on the back end for that. And so obviously some of that's, private information, but we have a monthly strategy call. So we kind of review that. Hey, those guests that we helped you get, are those converting at all? Do we need to kind of redirect, who we're going after for you as well? So there's kind of some lead gen behind that, but yeah, it is completely dependent on our clients giving that information. Yeah, and we've thought about it. I mean, we've worked with clients to kind of even do some branding and some media kits to kind of put out there as well. But I think for us, we don't want to do too many things. We do want to point people in the right direction. So the amount of conferences and stuff I've been to, especially with podcasting and just media buy through the years, I've been able to make some connections with people who would be ideal for that, because there are companies out there that's only what they do. Once you reach a certain level of downloads and kind of traction, they will actually be the ones to kind of tee up those conversations and relationships with the media spend. So, but sponsorships are a great way to be able to offset cost of this. And that's kind of when we talk about it's like landing a client that, lifetime value of that client might be $50,000. And it's like, well, one client easily paid for our services throughout the year. And so that's kind of our goal, is like, we want to help you get to the point to where this is paid for. So that way you don't even have to think about it. Again, you're sitting down once a week, recording an interview, send us the file, and we do everything else on the back end for you.
So then how do you find your clients? I mean, other than with a pitch like this, where somebody's like, oh, wow, this is what I'm up on. How do you guys find it?
I mean, we drink our own Kool-Aid. So it is one of those things that we bring people on that we think might have a connection. It's a great interview process, client interview. I mean, it's like, would we work well together? And it's something that obviously not done in a sleazy way, because I'm a guy that likes to talk to people anyway. So it is one of those things, like getting them on a podcast, just learning about their business. But we also do some prospecting as well. So LinkedIn, tracking down people in that specific industry. So we do a standard sales process that we actually go through to kind of get in front of people. But also we're looking for potential people on our podcast too. So, but yeah. Yeah. So when I was in the corporate world, they heard about what I was doing on the side. So it brought me in. So I started producing a corporate podcast as well that was internal. And so you get to that level, that Fortune 500, Fortune 500, 150, it does make it harder to do an external podcast. But you talk about an internal recruiting tool, that's something that has been a big idea as well. But the different channels that you have with inside of a corporation, having a specific podcast and internal social media, or just, hey, this is what we're doing in our company, making it cool and attracting good talent. It kind of shifts in the perspective of where you want to go with the podcast at that point. It's less sales related, but yeah, it definitely. Oh, going into it yeah. Yeah, the only thing that we've really run into with getting bigger brands on podcasts is just legality. They have to run it through their legal team, and so we'll send over kind of show flow, because we develop that for our clients as well. So it's like this is the question. These are the questions we'll be asking you, and so they can get it approved from their legal team before going into. There's a little more just red tape, bureaucracy kind of on the back end of that, but it helps you with that connection. If you're trying to pitch into, I don't know, a big blue company around here, I don't know, there might be a way of actually teeing it up for that conversation of like, hey, I have a podcast, we interview different buyers in this space, and how things are trending or whatever else. And that's just a great connection in general to, instead of like, hey, let's jump on a sales call. It's like, I don't know you, you know what I mean? But you send them to a landing page that has all of this and other big name people, that might be a way to say, oh yeah, these people are legit. I'm going to jump in and obviously be able to jump on their podcast. So, yeah. Yeah.
I thought interviewing and hosting things is not a natural skill.
Me too.
Do you help people with that? Because you mentioned creating content, or what content you can have, but actually the technical side is difficult, but also the soft skills. You want to talk about structure, the interview conversation is difficult.
Yeah. So the question is, obviously interviewing is not a natural skill, right? And so especially being in front of camera, being in front of you guys too. I mean, it's not easy to do, right? And people think I'm going to be just like my favorite YouTuber or whatever. And I sit down, get in front of the camera, and then you realize like you're kind of deer in the headlights. No, I've been there before too. And so it is one of those things of being able to actually say, okay, here are the things we need to focus on. Here's what we actually need to be accomplishing in this episode. So we actually have a resource, and we'll send it to anybody. Just email us after the fact. But there's a resource on interviewing tips and how to kind of get ready for being in front of the camera. We structure the show that feels natural to you as well. And so we would sit down and say, hey, what are the questions that you would ask in this interview, and what do you want to know about this person? It kind of helps you find that natural path to being able to be in front. But practice makes perfect. It might just be one of those things, that you just start doing stories. I'm in front of my camera. I'm talking to you now. I'm, doing my social media stories. That kind of helps you get over those jitters by the time you actually sit down in front of somebody. It makes it a little bit easier. And also, you're not doing it live. So there's plenty of times that even with our clients, they say, hey, I wanted to re-ask this question. And so we cut out those different parts to make sure it all flows seamlessly. So, yeah.
So that's part of what you do too, is the editing, and like if there was like an awkward moment in the conversation or whatever, you'll go in and that all the wrinkles.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we'll catch those in editing too, even if you didn't. Like this week, we had a client that actually used a curse word in one of their episodes, and so yeah. I wasn't going to point it out. But it was one of those things that we asked, said, hey, do you guys want to keep this in? This is not kind of part of your normal thing. It was said kind of in just passing. It wasn't like a big deal, but, do we want to bleep that out and going further? Is that something that we put explicit on your podcast episode, just so that people are aware if they're listening with kids? So we do catch a lot of that stuff, even if our clients don't necessarily notate it in there. But yeah, we go in and trim and cut and make sure that it sounds top notch before it gets published. So, yep.
No more questions. The final one when it comes to question. This was coming. What can
That's
we
it.
do to help you, Bryan?
Well, honestly, just this community in general has helped me a ton already. I mean, Caleb Startup Junkie team, during the pandemic, we were able to work with you guys, kind of keep 1 million cups going. And so that helped me kind of appreciate this every single week. And so I do appreciate this. And so part of it, actually, one way you guys could actually support us is listen to our podcast. So we have a video podcast that gets published on YouTube, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the players. So go listen to that. It's called Rogue Creators, and my awesome co-host Lauren Lewis in the back. She tries to keep me in line. She's not up here right now, so we're just going, And then also we have a Facebook group that's kind of dedicated to marketers and content creators. That's called Rogue Creators. That's on Facebook, and there's a lot of cool conversations happening in there. So make sure you guys jump into that group. And then if you know a business, one of the biggest ways is it's not necessarily that I'm always talking to potential business for us, but it is that you might know of a business, right? You might know of somebody, man, I would love to hear their podcast, right? I would love to hear, somebody down the street. That'd be really cool if they had a podcast. So recommend them to us. That would be a great way for us to be able to connect with them. So, yeah. Thanks, Caleb.
We give a round of applause.
Thanks.
Last time we presented was virtual, so we're in person. So you
Oh.
pay 1 million. Cups
Yes,
per
the
slide.
new ones too. Thanks, man.
And that's why we have some stats in your slides. So
We
if you
do.
want to,
Oh yeah. Dude, let's see.
All right, raise your hand. Just gonna ask some trivia
Yeah.
questions.
Let's see. So all IP traffic. Yeah, you there. Yeah. All IP traffic and 2021 video stat. I said at the beginning. You guys remember that percentage? Close. Oh. He did. He raised his hand. Yeah. Awesome. We'll here. I'll just run through. We have a shirt and sticker. We enjoy our brand, so we got a cool shirt, man. We're astronaut themed too. Actually, Jeff posted recently that the about the Apollo 11, the anniversary of that, and so I was like, it's only appropriate, right, that we presented this week. But do you have a question for them, Caleb? I had that one question.
Let's see. Raise your hand. I mentioned what year. Well, no, I already done that one. That's a tricky question. This is the what number consecutive 1 million cups since we've been back in person. Raise your hand. Oh crap! Three is
There
correct.
you go. I'll get you a shirt too. All right, can I take a selfie real quick, Caleb? Is that okay? You guys are down with the selfie? We're a social media company.
Disclosure form.
All right, everybody can just say, "Hey, big hands!" Woo! Awesome. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Brian. So if anybody watched the 1 million cups virtually on Facebook or YouTube during the past year and a half, that was Brian and his team made that possible. So we would not have had 1 million cups during that span of time, most likely, because that would have just been too big a lift for us without their help. I want to thank everybody for being here today. I want to thank Chandler for hosting us here at 1 million cups, our venue sponsor. Announcements.
In case you can't get enough startup junkie stuff, tonight we do have a happy hour event at 5:30 at Fairlane Station, which is in downtown Springdale, and it's a S bar, so science. Is that what S bar is? Science bar. We're going to be highlighting a couple of tech companies through our Science Venture Studio program. One of which was a graduate of our Fuel Accelerator program last year, Truckish. So if you like free beer and startup junkie stuff, then we hope to see you tonight, 5:30, Fairlane Station.
You don't even have to like science.
No, you don't have to. You will by the end of it.
Chandler.
Yeah, go for it. Okay, we got a special guest in here from New York. This is Chinity from Oxford One Capital, the partner of the firm. And we brought him in to be a mentor. He's going to be having some office hours with our members. We're going to get to know the community and thank for the support from the Bentonville Chamber to help make that happen. So thank you, James. And I just want to give him a few seconds to say what this fund is about and what opportunities they may be looking for. So if you want anyone else to follow up with him too as well, you're welcome to do so.
Hi everyone, Chinadu Netway, partner at Ocean Capital. Like Jan just said, we invest at the seed stage in the future of commerce, which basically means if you are building something that's fintech related or digital commerce related or anything that enables commerce on the internet, that's where we will invest. So I'm happy to be here. I love this town so far. It's kind of pleasant. I think that's a great depiction of it. And so far, Chandler's been really welcoming. I've met some of the entrepreneurs here, and I'm looking forward to meeting and spending time with any one of you. If you have any time, I'm here up until Friday. So look forward to this meeting.
Thanks.
And I want to announce another party 2 weeks from tomorrow with the Bentonville Chamber. We are having a Kiva microloan party. So if you've ever heard about Kiva, we've now done 45 microloans to disadvantaged entrepreneurs in Northwest Arkansas. And we're going to have a celebration party, and it's going to be at that Cool Kids building, that Greenway Office Park building, right across the parking lot from the chamber. It's right on the Greenway. We're going to have free food and drinks. We're going to have Kiva borrowers that you can meet, and you can find out about how awesome it is. Kiva is a hand up, not a hand out. You get paid back, and you get to support entrepreneurs that can't access capital. So August 5th, Greenway Office Park, 5:30, 7:30. Just drop in and visit and say, hey, if you've never seen that cool kids building, it's the mall. It's a really cool building. Right beside, it's just to that would be the west of the chamber, right across the parking lot. Yeah, yeah. I'd love to have you August 5th. Just drop in.
Can't tell the start of the team likes to have parties.
This party we had planned for a Thursday and on Tuesdays when they shut Arkansas down. So we've been waiting a year and 3 months to have this party. Yeah.
Any other announcements or anything? Questions? All right. Thank you everybody for coming out this morning. We'll see you next week.